If you've ever wanted a shrimp tank, but felt like there are too many rules, too many opinions, and too many ways to mess it up, this video is for you. Today, I'm breaking down how to start a shrimp tank properly, without overcomplicating it. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be talking about beginner shrimp tanks. In particular, we're going to be focusing on Neocaridina Davidi, or sometimes better known as the cherry shrimp. Now, this isn't a full tank build. This is more so just the fundamentals, the things that actually matter, and what's going to give you long-term success in those shrimp tanks. We'll start with tank size. Now, with shrimp, bigger, really, to be honest, is easier. You can definitely do shrimp in 20 litres, 25 litres, maybe even a little bit less. But I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that's just starting out. In my opinion, as a beginner, you're better off looking at 30 to 40 litres minimum. And I'll tell you why right now. More water means more stability. Temperature changes slower, your parameters change slower. It gives you way more time to act, especially with shrimp being so sensitive to change in their tanks. Next, let's talk about our substrate. Substrate isn't just about how the tank looks. It affects your plants, it holds on to beneficial bacteria, and it can have an effect on your water chemistry too. You've got two main options with your shrimp. You can keep an inert substrate like sands and gravels, or you can go with active soils. Inert substrates don't change your water chemistry. That makes them really predictable, and that's why they're great for Neocaridina, which like those really neutral sort of waters. Active soils release nutrients for plants, but they can also buffer your pH downwards, making the water more soft and acidic. This is where beginners need to be careful. If you're using active soil in a Neocaridina tank, it should be capped. You can do that with sand or fine gravel, but uncapped soil can leach nutrients into the water column over time and slowly pull the pH downwards. Capping the soil locks those nutrients in, keeps parameters more stable, but will still feed all of your plants that are planted into your substrate. A really common beginner mistake is using active soil because it's marketed for shrimp, but leaving it uncapped. In a Neocaridina tank, what happens is your excess nutrients get released into the water, algae starts taking over, parameters slowly drift, and people usually blame lighting or feeding for all this excess algae. But a lot of the time, it's the substrate. Now let's talk about filtration. Shrimp love clean water, but they hate strong flow. Sponge filters are about as beginner-proof as it gets. They've got a high surface area on the sponge for beneficial bacteria, and it's another place that your shrimp can actually go to graze and eat. There's a gentle flow, and they are completely shrimp safe. There are no moving mechanisms, there's no impellers, there's nothing for your shrimp to get pulled into and blended up into shrimp smoothie. Whereas if you go for some of your more conventional internal filters that do have those mechanical components, shrimp will always find a way in and it is just going to blend them up. If you are using an internal filter, do your best to make sure the intake is covered with a fine mesh, or maybe using a sponge to pop over the top of it, just to make sure nothing can get in there. Next, we'll talk about cycling and maturity. This is the most important part of the entire process and the most rushed. Cycling isn't just about ammonia and nitrite hitting zero. And to make sure that I cover everything properly, I'm going to quickly touch on the nitrogen cycle. The simplest and easiest way for me to explain the nitrogen cycle in your tanks is that on your filter, or in your filter, you will grow colonies of bacteria. Now, these bacteria form in the presence of ammonia and nitrite. The first bacteria will consume the ammonia and break it down into nitrite. The second bacteria will consume the nitrite and break it down into nitrate. Now, once that cycle is completed, you'll no longer get any readings of ammonia, you'll no longer get any readings of nitrite, but you will get readings of nitrate because there is nothing to break it down. Plants and water changes are the ways that you can reduce your nitrates. But once you get that reading for nitrate and nothing else, that means your tank is cycled. This is what we are looking to achieve before adding livestock in all cases where we can do it that way. And for anyone that is a beginner to tanks as a whole or shrimp tanks, I would recommend cycling traditionally, just so you can learn about how the cycle works and the different stages, so that if you do have a crash or your cycle breaks at some point further down the line, you're better prepared for how to deal with that. As I was previously saying, cycling is probably the most important part of the entire process, but with a shrimp tank, there is a little bit more of a step to it than with your fish tanks, and that's because we also want to let the tank mature, and this is a really key thing for shrimp tanks. And when we say we want to let a tank mature, what we're talking about is allowing all of your microorganisms, your biofilms, your algae, all of that to properly settle into the tank. And for that, you need the presence of the nitrate as well, especially for the algae. So when you get those readings of 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and you're starting to get your nitrates, yes, you're cycled, but that doesn't mean you're ready for shrimp yet. Leave the tank for a few more weeks, let all of the parameters settle, let your biofilms grow in, your algae grow in, and then add your shrimp. And you will have such a better survival rate and much healthier shrimp. Plants. Plants in a shrimp tank, to me, are essential. They're part of the filtration. Mosses like Java moss, Christmas moss, spiky moss, they're shrimp magnets. They trap food, they grow biofilm, and they give baby shrimp somewhere safe to hide. Now, moss is especially good because it has all of these little fronds that trap particles, promote biofilm growth. It's all about surface area when it comes to biofilm, and moss is ideal for that. And you can see that in this moss here, how it's growing that biofilm in amongst the fronds, and that is ideal for shrimp. This is exactly the sort of thing that you want to see. Then we also have epiphytes like Anubis and Bucephalandra, and these are perfect for beginners too. They're slow growing, low maintenance, and there's no planting required. Epiphytes and mosses, you can literally just attach to a bit of rock or wood, and it's as simple as that. Epiphytes and mosses are just super simple because they don't need to be planted into the substrate. They take all of their nutrients from the water column, but they're slow growing, so they're not too demanding. And if you are trying to achieve those algae walls that some breeders and keepers strive for, then they're not going to be taking away loads of nutrients like some of the faster growing plants may do. Then you also have some options with stem plants, like this one here, which is Ludwigia palustris mini super red. Now, Ludwigias and Ratalas are particularly good options for plants in shrimp tanks, in my opinion, and that's because they have lots of little leaves. Lots of little leaves means more surface area, and more surface area means more biofilm. Not only that, but Ratalas and Ludwigias are quite fast growing stem plants, so they're really going to help to filter that water and keep the parameters on point. Now, something else that I think is a good thing to try as a beginner is a shrimp only tank. And that doesn't go to say that you should always keep them in a shrimp only tank. Some people will prefer to, some people will want to keep fish with them too. But by keeping shrimp in a shrimp only tank, you will get the best out of them. They will be stress-free because there are no fish to hide from. They will always look at fish as predators. You will see better breeding from them because of the lack of stress, but also because those baby shrimplets aren't going to be getting picked off by any fish that are in there. They'll display more natural behaviors. You'll see them grazing more often. The tanks as a whole, when you keep them as a shrimp-only tank, are easier to manage, they stay cleaner, and they're just much more simple, peaceful, and calm. Feeding. Shrimp are constant grazers. They don't need heavy feeding. A varied diet consisting of a vegetable-based food, a protein-based food, and then maybe something that's more of a complete food. Something that I would recommend maybe as your complete food that hits a lot of your different nutrients and minerals a shrimp need would be shrimp cuisine by Hikari. A varied diet supports healthy molts, growth, and breeding. Molting issues usually come from diet or instability, not bad luck. Now, algae, not all algae is bad. Soft green algae and biofilm are actually great grazing for shrimp. Problems start with excessive algae, like hair algae. This is where people usually think they're overfeeding, but 9 times out of 10, it's actually that uncapped soil we talked about earlier. Shrimp tanks reward patience. Keep things simple, take your time, don't rush. Focus on stability over perfection, and you will be successful. If there's anything you think I missed, do let me know, and maybe we can cover it in a future episode. If you found this video helpful, then please don't forget to hit subscribe and drop me a comment, let me know what type of shrimp you're keeping. I'll see you in the next one.